Good morning. It is Friday, February 6, 2026. This is your essential daily briefing, bringing you the most critical developments from around the globe. In the past 24 hours, we've seen a dramatic shift in the U.S. political landscape, a historic AI earnings wave, and a logistics sector scrambling to adapt to a new Suez reality. I'm Cora, and here are the stories defining our world today. We begin with a seismic shift in Washington. In a late-night announcement that has sent shockwaves through diplomatic circles, President Trump has officially accepted the resignation of FBI Director Christopher Wray. This move follows weeks of tension over federal law enforcement priorities. The administration has signaled a swift transition to new leadership, a move being closely watched by international allies as a barometer for U.S. institutional stability in 2026. In the Middle East, the focus remains on the Red Sea security corridor. Despite a tentative three-phase peace roadmap discussed earlier this week, Houthi officials in Yemen have issued a fresh warning, stating that any hostile movements by Western-aligned merchant vessels will be met with a response. This comes as a direct challenge to the recently announced return of major shipping lines to the Suez Canal. Meanwhile, in Europe, the European Commission is preparing a landmark digital sovereignty package. The proposal, expected to be unveiled later today, aims to reduce the EU's dependence on foreign cloud providers, particularly those from the US and China, citing national security concerns in the age of generative AI.
Turning to the markets, the narrative is one of divergent growth. In the United States, the labor market remains surprisingly tight. New data released yesterday showed private payrolls added 185,000 jobs in January, exceeding analyst expectations. This strength in employment is complicating the Federal Reserve's path. With inflation stubbornly hovering at 2.8%, the likelihood of a rate cut in the first half of 2026 is rapidly diminishing. In Asia, the Bank of Japan has signaled a potential shift toward a more hawkish stance. Following a rise in Tokyo's core inflation, Governor Ueda hinted that the era of ultra-loose monetary policy may be drawing to a definitive close by mid-year. This has caused a sharp appreciation of the yen, impacting Japanese exporters and rippling through global currency markets. For South Korea, the Kospi ended the session yesterday with a modest gain, buoyed by the tariff suspension relief from earlier in the week. However, the finance ministry remains cautious, watching the impact of the rising yen on the competitive landscape for Korean electronics and automobiles in global markets.
The technology world is processing the big tech earnings paradox. Following Alphabet's massive capex announcement, Amazon and Apple reported their results late yesterday. Amazon posted a record-shattering quarter, driven by a 22% surge in AWS cloud revenue, proving that the enterprise demand for AI hosting is very real. Conversely, Apple showed a slight contraction in hardware margins, as the cost of specialized AI silicon and advanced thermal management systems begins to eat into the profitability of the iPhone 17 line. In a major move for artificial intelligence ethics, a coalition of 20 global tech firms has signed the Munich AI Safety Accord. The pact commits companies to watermarking all AI-generated video and audio to combat the rising tide of deepfakes ahead of several major global elections in 2026. Furthermore, OpenAI has officially confirmed it is seeking a massive $100 billion valuation in its latest funding round, aiming to build its own sovereign chip supply chain to reduce its reliance on NVIDIA's current monopoly.
Finally, in logistics, the industry is bracing for a Suez bottleneck. As Maersk and Hapag-Lloyd proceed with their structural return to the Suez Canal, the first wave of vessels is expected to reach the canal entrance within the next 48 hours. However, marine insurers have hiked war risk premiums by 25% overnight, citing the renewed Houthi threats. This risk premium may offset the fuel savings gained from the shorter route, leaving logistics managers in a difficult position. On the other side of the Atlantic, the Port of Savannah has successfully restored its automated systems following yesterday's cyber outage. However, the backlog of 35 vessels is expected to take at least 10 days to clear, causing ripple effects for automotive parts supply chains across the American Southeast. Lastly, in air freight, DHL has announced a new global green corridor for medical supplies, utilizing sustainable aviation fuel, SAF, for all shipments between Singapore and London. This move is a strategic response to the EU's 100% emissions verification rule, which has made traditional air freight significantly more expensive this month. That concludes our global briefing for February 6th. 2026. We will continue to monitor the fallout from the FBI leadership change and the market's reaction to Amazon's cloud surge. I'm Vivian. Stay informed and have a productive day.